Hello and welcome back to Green Money Momentum, where we talk about market movements, making money, and money momentum. I'm your host, Trevor, and we are here for yet another daily talk of stock, where we talk about the stock market every day of the week. If you're new here, welcome to the channel, and if you're returning, welcome back. The markets were very, very green today. We saw pumps in the overall markets. We did start off the day with a bit of red and fear, uncertainty, and doubt, but overall the markets did shake that up and did recover forward. So in most stocks, cryptos, ETFs, and the major indexes, we did see the days start off with a big trail down, but it ended up just being a buying opportunity as the markets did recover throughout the day, just like the markets have been recovering since April. And so May was a very positive month for the markets, and June has been decently positive as well, despite all the concerns around Iran, Israel, the United States, and everything going on there. Investors are still now at the levels of greed. So investors feeling greedy, investors continuing to pour money into the markets. And this is understandable because just like I was saying in yesterday's video about the stock preparation and what we were looking for this week in the markets, I was saying how with wars and with just different events in the market, when we look at the full history of the markets have always been bullish and always recover, because with short-term retractions, it ends up always just being buying opportunities. And so we saw a lot of lows around Liberation Day, but we have just continued to recover. And so I think it's important to look at this chart of market psychology, because right now I believe that we are in levels of optimism pushing more towards levels of enthusiasm. And this is, in my opinion, just important to think about right now, because with the market, it has been having this stubborn recovery despite all the news that would have caused a bit more bleeding earlier in the year. So with this recovery, we have seen fear, uncertainty, and doubt around tariffs, inflation, and then most recently the credit rating drop from Moody's, and then of course the war. But the markets continue to push up. And so with that being said, we're going to talk about 5 stocks here today that I see having a lot of potential and that I am currently invested in that have been seeing a lot of momentum. So we're going to start out by talking about Circle Internet Group. This stock just IPO'd this month and is up 600% and making some big moves when it comes to the cryptocurrency world. We're going to then talk about DJT, the stock, so Trump Media and Technology Group, also taking advantage of the mass adoption into cryptocurrency. We're then going to hop into Tesla, Big Bear AI, and we're going to finish with the quantum sector, visiting QBTS, our favorite quantum computing stock. And so we're going to start out here today with Circle Internet Group, because Circle Internet Group has seen a lot of momentum this last month, up 600% again. So it just IPO'd earlier in June and has had this massive skyrocket up. And the reason why, if you're unfamiliar with what this company is, well, Circle Internet Group has all the does everything with US dollar coin. So they are the company behind that stable coin, US dollar coin. And there was some big news recently, as there was a bill passed at the Senate that is going to help establish a federal framework around the use of stable coins and take out some of the gray area. And so with that news, Circle Internet Group did have a big pop up last week, and now we are just waiting for more news when it comes to this bill being passed at the House and then signed by the president and being made official, which I foresee happening. I don't think that there is going to be any problem there. Usually bills have a tougher time in the Senate than the House, and with the president, he is the most pro-crypto president of all time. So I definitely see this bill getting passed, and with that, I see Circle Internet Group seeing even greater gains. And so the way I have been playing with this stock is, last week I did do a day trade in Circle Internet Group. I did see a lot of profits. I did take some of those profits, but I did keep shares in there for the long term and for the anticipation of this bill going to the House and then the president. But I did the same thing today, doing some more day trading trading. Today, I did just take my profits, but overall, this stock has a lot of volatility and a lot of eyes on it. So it's really in a situation where it could be easy money if you're day trading or swing trading this opportunity, because this bill still has to go to the House. And when it comes to politics, you look at Nancy Pelosi and just other bills, and when it gets to the government, everything changes there. And so the value of this company is definitely there, a lot of intrinsic value and a lot of momentum and eyes on this stock. So some pretty big news around cryptocurrency. And of course, that bill will be made possible when it gets passed by the president and the House. And so this is the president's stock, DJT. And this company right here has a lot to do with cryptocurrency. So we'll visit that in a second. But first, just looking at the technical analysis right now, I consider ourselves to be in the basement on DJT. We're currently sitting under the floor here. We can see that the floor sits right around $21, and the candlesticks are beneath that right now. This is also confirmed when we look at the relative strength index and on the MACD as well, showing that we are oversold there. So just on technicals, we are looking oversold, and this company is definitely taking advantage of the mass adoption into cryptocurrency. So since before Trump even got into office, he campaigned a lot on the promises he would do around Bitcoin and overall decentralized finance. He has already done a lot of that as the president. We do know there was the big crypto summit earlier at the White House earlier this year. And then also the company Trump Media Technology Group is taking advantage of the mass adoption of that. And what the president is doing, there is going to be a big $2.3 billion investment into Bitcoin, going to have a treasury for the company of DJT. And so recently there was some talk about some share dilution with this big investment. DJT TMTG had to get some capital funding, and so they did say that they were going to dilute investors. But then we got this positive news today that they will also be buying back. So they do plan on buying back around $400 million worth of shares. And so if this confuses you, completely understandable, because you would say, well, why would you dilute just to buy back? That doesn't seem to make sense. Well, think about it in this sense. So just as this says right here, they are raising cash. So 2.3 billion in Bitcoin is a lot. Being able to get some funding from investors just helps to purchase that Bitcoin. But the repurchase program, the reason why they would repurchase is to help reduce the share count over time, and it will support metrics like earnings per share and signal confidence in the stock. So essentially what it is this company is showing that there will be strength in this stock, and they aren't afraid to buy back their stock. So very positive there. And when we just look at this company, we could see that there is also a high short interest. So a short interest of around 15%. So a lot of shorts in DJT, thinking that this stock won't run. But personally, everything I am seeing, the technical indicators lining up, as well as the news around what they're going to do with the Bitcoin treasury and everything else with this company, I think in the future on an earnings report, we are going to see a massive pop when it comes to their revenue. And I think that some investors, especially the bears, are going to be very surprised by this. And if the short interest is still high at that time, we could see the pressure when it comes to positive price movements go even harder towards the upside, as the shorts will have to cover. So very interesting scenario there when it comes to DJT, possibly some short squeeze opportunities. But overall, I am staying invested for the long term because of the belief in what they are doing with cryptocurrency and what they are doing when it comes to this big Bitcoin treasury. I think that's very positive that there is going to be buyback with this company. And overall, there are a lot of big investors in DJT. We do know that DJT and his family has a big share of the ownership, as well as some politicians. So some big politicians have some DJT. And then also we did see that big California state pension fund buy into DJT not long ago. So even the Democrats investing into DJT. And with that, we're now going to hop into the stock of Tesla, because when we talk about Republicans and Democrats, Tesla, Elon Musk, very polarizing, interesting figure. It's funny when we look at the years of Tesla, how much has changed. It started off as a company that the Democrats loved because of their clean energy motives and everything like that. Then he started working with Trump, caused a lot of backlash. Then we started to see some fights. We started to see some argument between Trump and Elon, and it may have gotten some Democrats back on the side of Elon. So very polarizing when we look at the figure of Elon Musk, but with the stock, also a very polarizing stock, as through the years with Tesla has had a massive run up. And during the entire run up, all the way up to the $1,000 prices that Tesla has seen, I remember through those years, bear gang was very loud, thinking that Tesla would fall. And there was always a bunch of shorts getting burned. And so something I learned with Tesla over the years is never doubt what Tesla could do. And recently we did see that big drawdown when Trump and Elon had their little bit of a blow up, but that was just a buying opportunity. So that is personally, when I bought into Tesla, I bought some options contracts that did actually see 100% return on investment in such a short period. They were some short-term options contracts, so I did sell some, and then I executed into shares on some others, not quite on Tesla, but on the double leveraged Tesla, TSLL. So as Tesla goes up 1%, this derivative goes up by 2%. So as Tesla rose today, I took advantage of this in shares, and I was up 14%. So very interesting if you look into TSLL, double leveraged Tesla. And so it's good to see Tesla have a pop today, because what did happen recently, just as of this weekend, is they did have their big robo-taxi launch in Austin, and everything went well. And classically, the memester that Elon is, he put it down as a flat fee of $4.20. So for $4.20, you could ride in the Tesla robo-taxi. And overall, with Tesla, I believe that the intrinsic value will continue to grow, and I believe we are going to only continue to see Tesla's autonomous vehicles on the road. So this is huge in my area of Arizona. I know I've been seeing a lot of self-driving cars with Waymo, and so I actually drove in a self-driving Waymo on my inauguration vlog. If you've never seen that, that is where we went out to Washington, D.C., and to start the vlog, I was in a Waymo. So I got drove by a Waymo. There was no driver. That exact same thing is happening with Tesla right now. And let me tell you, I am actually very excited, because I feel like I know what my next car is going to be. And it's going to be the Tesla robo-taxi, because out here in Arizona, there's a lot of police enforcement, not just boots on the ground enforcement, but a lot of these speed cameras and a lot of these other just these flash cameras that will get you in all these different scenarios and make you pay a big fine if you get caught. So I'm not saying I'm driving recklessly, but with what's coming out next year in 2026, the Tesla robo-taxi, it's going to be like what we're seeing on the road right now, but you could have it as your own personal vehicle, and it's set to be pretty affordable apparently. So it's, I believe, going to be right around $25,000. I think it looks sleek, and I want that to be my next vehicle. If I could just chill there, get taken from A to B, that's cool with me. I don't need to worry about getting caught by these speed cameras. My Tesla could deal with it. But overall, when we do look at Tesla, the stock right now on the relative strength index right at about the middle, and then on the MACD, it does appear that we may see a bullish cross coming up here in the near future. And so while Tesla has been beat up quite a bit from its highs that were around 2024, right before all the affiliation with Trump, there has been a lot of bleeding. Now that it is low, this is where I have invested into Tesla, and I am very excited to see what we have coming up in the future with Tesla. Like I say, I even want a Tesla car myself. And so now we're then going to hop into our next stock. If you're still here after all this, I appreciate this. I appreciate you, because I know this is a longer video with a lot that we're covering today. But the next stock here is one of the channel's favorites, that fella back there, Big Bear. I know a lot of investors in Big Bear, and a lot of investors that follow this channel must have been very excited today, because Big Bear did have a big pop back up. So it did start off the day around 4, did see some drawdown with the rest of the markets all the way to 385. Things were looking a little bit scary, but it bounced right off this level of support right here and rose past the level of resistance around $4 and went to 415. So right now, as I record this video, just a little bit after market close, it's at 411. But overall, we have been seeing this positive upwards trend in the big bear. When we look at the other indicators of the relative strength index and the MACD, things are looking about 50-50 there. And we have been on this somewhat of a bullish trend, but it also has been a bit sideways recently. So the month of June has been very, very sideways, but just some consolidation building up into the big bear. And so there's been a lot of opportunities for anybody who is swing trading or day trading big bear. Anytime this stock has pumped up to around $4.15, 420, 430, there has been a drawdown back with big bear. So some short-term pumps and dumps in the big bear. I wouldn't be surprised if we did see a little bit of drawdown tomorrow, but also the markets are looking pretty bullish. And so my opinion on the markets, just like I was saying at the beginning of the market psychology chart, even if there is a bit of a drawdown tomorrow to this level of rising support, there will be a pop in the big bear coming up sometime. And it really just has to get past those levels of resistance that it's been getting really hit hard at, right around 430 and 450. And trust me, I really want to see big bear have an explosion past these levels, because I have a lot of options contracts with the break even price right around $4.30 and right around $4.50 and some at $4.90. So all really close to my break even prices. And if it gets past these levels, that's when I could really see some exponential return on investment. So I know big bear investors could be feeling a little bit frustrated from the sideways movement in the short term, but what I encourage is just to remain patient and just remember that overall in the broad market we are seeing recovery. And with big bear, things have gotten a bit better. So in the short term, no real big catalysts, nothing really coming out. But they have their search results have cleaned up. So before we know, in the last couple months, big bear investors who have been around for a while know that if you were searching up big bear AI, all you would get hit by is all these lawsuits that were against the big bear. But those have all passed through, and we've actually started to see a lot more of positive articles in the big bear. So like I say, nothing really when it comes to the fundamentals, but it is good to at least see that the sentiment will be better for anyone who is searching big bear, and you don't immediately get hit by all those nasty articles about the big bear being sued. With that, we're going to now hop into our last play here, QBTS D-Wave Quantum. So I was covering this stock quite a bit in May. I haven't really covered it as much this month, but the reason why is because in the markets, you know, things come and go. There is times where certain things, certain sectors run harder than at other times. And overall, a lot of the big catalysts around quantum computing stocks in general were really last month, a lot of the earnings and everything like that. So we were able to catch a 200% pop in QBTS, but since then there has been some trail off, and just as I was predicting when we were up here, we have trailed back down to what was previously this rising level of resistance throughout the entire year. So we had this rising level of support and resistance, and we did break through it with the big catalysts that they did have with their last earnings report. Now the stock is starting to trade a bit more sideways and a bit down. So we did just break underneath that rising level of resistance, which is now acting as the support. So with that, it's going to be interesting to see where D-Wave goes tomorrow and goes in the going forward. But personally, I would expect to see a bit of a drawdown, probably another 20% or so, down around $3 or so, back down to the levels around $11 to $12, because right in between the bottom of the level of rising support and resistance in the previous trend, we did have that level in the middle where it was holding for quite some time. Even with the most recent pop, it did hold there for a little bit of time. And the other indicators of the relative strength index and the MACD also show that we should, in the short term, see some more bleeding in D-Wave. But I'm very excited about this because I took my profits in D-Wave around here. And if D-Wave continues to bleed, and I do still hold some shares, but I took my major profits at the top. But if D-Wave does continue to bleed, I may look at investing heavy into the play again, especially with options contracts. But with D-Wave, the momentum has slowed down a little bit. And so with that last earnings report, and the reason why we were able to predict the big squeeze that happened is because with their earnings report before that, so their Q4 of 2024, they did say they had some positive news going into the first quarter of 2025. Well, we could see that was their biggest quarter ever, but Q2 of 2025 is projected to be lower. And then also, there was this unfortunate news around QBTS. And so something I never like to see within stocks is dilution. There is always the chance that things could get better, but in the short term, anytime you hear of dilution, this is really a negative, because with dilution, this is usually what could kill great opportunities. And so with D-Wave Quantum, they do have potential for a $400 million share offering. And so they did announce that this does allow the sale of up to 400 million new shares in existence. And so this is bad for existing shareholders because this means they could suddenly own a smaller percentage of the company. And so with this share dilution, a little bit of some concern there. It hasn't been announced whether they've actually diluted up to this point or whether they will in the future, but just the chance that they do have to do that, I think, is a negative catalyst in QBTS. So I could see some continued bleeding with quantum or with QBTS specifically, even though this is one of my favorite quantum computing stocks. I don't like that the company did that right there. Am I staying bullish on quantum? Yes, I'm staying bullish on the overall quantum sector, and I am still bullish on QBTS. I still believe in everything this company is doing. There's a lot of intrinsic value behind their annealing quantum computers, but just in the short term, I am a bit fearful about the chances of dilution, as well as where we sit on the chart when it comes to the relative strength index and the MACD. Overall, I do have patience with this play, but in a bullish sense, if we do continue to see pops in the market, we could see ourselves push off this level of what was previously rising resistance and then now is acting as support. So the next movements in D-Wave Quantum are going to be very interesting, as well as the overall market. Just like I was saying in my video over the weekend, don't be too concerned when there's a lot of fear in the streets, because many times that is when it is the best opportunity to buy into great plays and opportunities. And if you participated in today's market rally, congratulations, because as investors, this is what it is all about, making money and taking profits as well. So if you see a lot of green in your portfolio, never hesitate to take some money with it. With that being said, I appreciate you guys as always for being here for yet another daily talk of stock. I would be curious to hear what everyone else's opinions of all these stocks are in the comments section below. So we talked about Circle Internet Group, DJT, Tesla, Big Bear AI, and D-Wave Quantum. Let me know if you hold any of those or what your opinions are for the upcoming future in all those plays, as well as the overall market. I appreciate you guys for being here. Please leave a like and please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. I will see you guys tomorrow for the next daily talk of stock. You have a great rest of your Monday.